Okay, guys, today inshallah we're going to continue chapter one, section one, sorry, of chapter 20. We still talk about the land biomes. So after we really discussed the different biomes, the first three biomes, or the three different types of forest, we are going to continue what are the different biomes that are found on the land. So just to remember, we said biome is just a group of similar ecosystems in which they are similar in the climate conditions. That means they are similar in the temperature, the amount of precipitation. So if they have the same climate conditions, which means the same environmental condition, they are gonna support or the same form of life, which make them similar, even if they are in this different distribution on the earth. That means in far places, but they carry the same characteristics, so they will be considered as similar ecosystem. So they could be gathered in one biome. So actually, as we said, you could observe that the different parts which have the similar climate, they are about the same altitude, okay, same latitude, sorry, that means the same distance from the equator. So here, like this, we said we have about six different biomes on the land. We studied the three types of forest: deciduous forest, the tropical rainforest, and the temperate okay forest. So today, inshallah, we're gonna continue. So we're just gonna talk about first. We're gonna talk about the grassland. So the grassland, the word grassland here once it means the area which is just the most or the most kind of form plants that dominate the area is grass, okay, or herbs. So somehow they are different than the forest because the main element in the forest is tree, whatever the type of the tree. So here we find that the grassland, they are sometimes they could divide into different types. So we call them steppes, prairies, okay, humps. So we have a lot of names for them. Savanna also, okay, but we just say that grassland, it depends on the type of the plant that grow. They could be called or could be divided into different names, but all of them they just have general characteristics. So let's start here, for example. So the grassland actually is going to be divided into two categories or two subbiomes, which are temperate grassland and savanna. Let's find what the difference between them, guys. First, all temperate grassland. So here, let's find the average okay rain is about 250, to 25 to 75 centimeters, which means it's not that much, okay, but at the same time is not that low amount. Of course, they are less than the three types of forest, which could give you a hint that why there is no higher trees are growing in that place because this amount of water is not able to support the higher trees to grow. So the majority of the plant that is gonna grow in that place are the herbs or the grass. So always you could find that the temperature, okay, the average temperature in the summer could be 30 degrees Celsius. In the winter is about 0 degrees Celsius, okay. So here we find actually the temperate grassland they consider to be the best environment for agriculture. This kind of temperature and the amount of water allow a lot of herbs, plants, or crops to grow naturally. Once the human observe this, okay, they start to use okay these places, okay, just for agriculture purposes, or they start to make fields and they start to grow plants and crops in this. So this kind of environment, or as we have a lot of grass, so that will support the most okay grazing animals, which means the animals that feed on grass, okay, the herbivores, different kinds of herbivores, okay. So you could find a lot of animals in that kind, like for example the prairie dogs, the mice, large grass eaters, okay, like the American bisons, okay, and so on. So here like this, that's the main difference, okay, or what make it different than the first, that the amount of precipitation is less, so it doesn't allow the growth of higher trees. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, mister.
Okay, guys, is it clear for everyone? Or
Yes, Mr.
yep.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
Mr.
so then we pass to the savannas. Okay, so savanna actually also is a grassland, but most of the savanna they have higher uh, or what we said that they have higher herbs. That mean the herbs could grow longer. That's different kinds of grass which is could grow longer, and also it have kind of scattered okay trees. That means not big trees but just small trees scattered from place to another. So why make savanna able to grow some trees rather than the temperate grassland? Because as you can see here, guys, you find that the average rainfall that savanna receives is about 150 centimeters, which more than the temperate grassland. So this higher amount of water or the difference in water, it make it able to grow some trees. As you can see in the picture here, we have some trees. They are scattered in different places. But the most majority, the land is covered by grass. Actually, this savanna, they have a unique climate or different climate. Why? Because you could find that savanna passes by 6 months of summer and 6 months of winter, which means the temperature is just, which means that we have alternative, not that for alternative season as clear in different places of the earth, just about 2 seasons, the alternate between 2 seasons. But the most different thing or weird thing regarding to this, that the most of the rains are falling during summer, not winter. So we have a wet summer but dry winter. So here you could find the temperature is 34 degrees Celsius to 16. Actually, there is no great change in the temperature. Somehow they are like this, but you could find that in wet season they are gonna receive a lot of precipitations, which allow the plants or this kind of grass to grow, and that will support different kinds of animals to live in. But once that we pass to the dry season, of course, you could imagine what dry could make. Of course, the number of plants will decrease, and so on the number of the herbivores and the number of carnivores, which means generally high decrease in the number of the living organisms in that place. Some of them even migrate, to another places until this season ends and then return back. Some of them they try to hibernate or just hide during this time. So here, that's different kinds of adaptation they try to do. But generally, there is a decrease in the number of living organisms regarding that growth. But the idea that once the season, or the wet season back, that means they start to receive the life come back quickly. So how does it happen? Could we consider this kind of succession, guys?
No.
No, as we said yesterday, it's not kind of succession because succession means we just start need to have a kind of great change in them. But that's here just slight change and this returning back of life because there are the roots of the plant underground. There are many kinds of plants. Their roots underground are still alive even in the drought season. So once they receive sufficient amount of water in the wet season, they start to grow again, producing new plants, which gonna increase the number of the herbivores, so carnivores, and so on. So here like this, we could find actually that savanna considered the habitat for the most grazing animal or large herbivores. So we could find zebras, deers, elephants, giraffes, and so on. So why specially support this kind rather than first? For example, first could include some of these animals, but not that much. Like savanna. Why? Because actually it's hard for the most of the animals to eat from the higher trees. So they prefer that to have a sufficient amount of grass to be just accessible to eat. Is it clear here, guys?
Yes, Mr.
Yep. So like this, we differentiate between grassland, temperate grassland and savanna. So they look similar that the dominant plant is grass, but just the difference in the biodiversity regarding to what the type of the grass and the availability of water. Then we pass to the next, okay, actually the next one that's one of the unique ecosystem, which is desert. So once we talk about desert, so some people, once we say desert, they think that always it's gonna be hot, but actually that is not true because actually sometimes desert could be very cold, especially at night. So here we could find, as you can see here, what is most or what is the most important characteristic of the desert. Once we say desert, you think about what do you think, guys?
Dry.
Dry, good, So actually, desert considered to be one of the driest or the driest biome ever because it just received very low amount of precipitation, just about 25 centimeter per year. So which means that they are very very low, which means that we don't have this enough or this available water which require certain types of living areas that could live and adapt to this shortage of water. So we could find that the plants which grow in desert, they have kinds of adaptation which make it able to survive. For example, we have these plants like cactus, for example, they grow juicy leaves with which allow to store large amount of water in their leaves, helping or to protect itself against drought. Also, we find that the roots of these cactus or the roots of the desert plant, they dig for higher for deep meters underground that's searching for underground water. Some of them grow a very wide horizontal roots under the surface of the ground, just to be able to absorb water from the surface once it rain or precipitate. So this kind of adaptations, this kind of roots is able to fix the plant against the storms and strong winds that could blow in desert, and at the same time and enable it to find water far away than its location. So here, that's the idea that we could find certain adaptation. Of course, also you could find that the leaves of these kind of plants are covered by thick layer of wax like cuticle that prevents losing of water. Some of them even change their leaves into spines or thorns, to prevent losing of water and all the same time kind of protection. So we have a lot of adaptations of the plant that could grow in desert, not any plant that can grow in desert. In same time as we have specific types of plants that will grow in desert, that also will specify the types of animals that could live in that place. So also the animals which live in that place, they somehow try to adapt with this kind. So for example, find that kangaroo rats never need to drink. They just recycle water from the foods that they eat. So that's a good environment. Camels, as they are able to drink a lot amount of water once and keep for months, without drinking water. So like this, you could find desert is suitable or it could adapt with the environmental conditions in desert. So here some of the reptiles, snakes, lizards, and so on. That's good for them because also they don't need this large amount of water, and also they could hide and dig tunnels to live in, so they could avoid the direct exposure to the sunlight. So here like this, we could find that certain kinds of plants, huge ears, in this rabbits, for example, enable it to get rid of the body heat because they have thin, tissues in their ears, and this long ears allow to make kind of heat exchange, losing heat, radiate the heat to the atmosphere, and so on. So all these are forms of adaptations of different living organisms. That's always we find that animals that live in desert, they have specific characteristics or amazing characteristics rather than other animals to be able to adapt with these harsh conditions. Is it clear, guys, here?
Yes, mister.
Okay.
Yes.
So then the last one here, or the last biome ever that we could find in the Earth, which is tundra. So tundra, that means we already nearly now at the North Pole, or just we reach at the top of the Earth, So tundra just that's a biome that which refers to the freezing place or frozen places, on the Earth's surface, in which most of the water is going to be in form of the ice. So here we have the tundra could be classified into two types, which is polar tundra and alpine tundra. So what just gonna or what the main thing or what the characteristics of tundra overall? So the average rainfall from 12 to 20 inches, which means from 30 to 50 centimeters, But unfortunately, most of this precipitation on the rainfall is not that in form of liquid. Some of them turn to ice, or most of them turn to ice, so that's not available water that much. The temperature, of course, extremely cold. You could find it could reach minus 26 degrees Celsius, and sometimes it could be more. So here, like this is a very harsh conditions, which also requires and allows certain types of life to grow or form in that place. So the polar tundra, actually here, what is polar tundra or what the make the polar tundra? The most amazing thing about it, something called the permafrost. What is the permafrost? Actually, we could find that the layers of soil, of course, or the soil will be covered by snow or will be covered by ice. So it's freezing all the time. So this layer, of the soil which under snow, we call the permafrost. because it, although it is still under snow, but it's able to grow some certain types of plants that could adapt to this extremely cold temperature and start to penetrate the ice and get some kind of plants out, which represent the resource or the food for the herbivores. Of course, it's not that much. That's why we cannot find that high kind of diversity in the tundra, just certain species that could live in that place. So just small wrecks in scattered places, some bushes or shrubs also scattered in places. Okay, so that's here how the permafrost they start to provide or that's help to get the life. So here like this, okay, that's about the polar tundra. Regarding to the alpine tundra, okay, it's the architect that means that we already at the North Pole now, which the temperature could be more okay cool than the polar tundra, okay, and here we could find uh, what we said that's at the elevations, high elevation or the top elevation of mountains, which are completely frozen. And of course, this also will decrease the rate or the kind of living organisms that could survive because, as we know, as we elevate, the availability of oxygen decreases. So it's more harsher conditions which decrease the number of living organisms. So the living organisms which could live in tundra, who can guess what are types of animals that could live in tundra?
polar bear,
Polar bear, good. What?
foxes,
Okay, fox, Arctic fox, good. Okay, so we could find Arctic fox, polar bears, even jackrabbits. Okay, some kinds of rabbits that could adapt with this cold temperature. Okay, so that's the majority. Some kinds. Okay, this kind of deers. Okay, or something like that. They because they have a lot of fats under their skin, so they could survive in some cold temperatures. Okay, so that's not that big variety, as we said, just few number of living organisms that could survive in that place. So like this guys, we really done of our biomes and we know that we have different biomes depends on the characteristics or the features of the climate in their different places. And like this, that support different forms of life. Any hard question regarding to this part, guys?
no,
Is there
No,
anything is
thank you.
not clear? Everything's clear?
yes,
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So please, guys, I need you to study this section very well from textbook. Try to find. I know that's may it's just easy, but you still have some definitions or some things to memorize. Remember the kind of animals that survive, the type of precipitation or the amount of precipitations, and so on. So I know that you need kind of memorizing. Just try to study it very well, and please answer the section review as homework, which we're gonna discuss it inshallah next Sunday. So next Sunday we're gonna discuss the section review together. So that's your homework. I'm waiting for it. If you have any question, I'm waiting to listen for your question. Do you have any question, guys?
No, Mister, thank you.
Everything is
yes,
clear, guys?
yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you and goodbye.